more we examine the quality of these candidates from top to bottom, the more likely we end up with fewer Christine O'Donnells and more Rand Paul, and more Rand Paul, and more Rand Paul.
Taking you on a deep state safari, one story at a time, you're watching AMTV News. I'm your anchor, Topher Morrison. It is Tuesday, February 19, 2013. Cops can't police cops. It's time to outsource internal affairs. Writing for the Washington Post, Sunil Dutta is an officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. The views expressed here do not represent the LAPD. Christopher Dorner, the former LA police officer who, in a perverted mission of abject vengeance after being fired by the LAPD, allegedly killed 2 civilians and 2 officers. We all know by now he was burnt to a crisp, possibly still alive after San Bernardino Police Department launched pyrotechnic tear gas canisters, also known as, these could probably be called incendiary devices, into his cabin after allegedly suffering a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Whether or not he was dying or already dead when he was being burned is still left up to much debate. Before his wild rampage across Southern California, he told the world, "I know I will be vilified by the LAPD and the media," Dorner wrote in an online manifesto. "Unfortunately, this is a necessary evil that I do not enjoy but must partake and complete for substantial change to occur within the LAPD and reclaim my name." What name he was actually trying to reclaim, I think, is beyond my reach of comprehension, but I am pretty sure it's not a name little Christopher Dorner was hoping for when he wanted to become an LA Police Department officer. The LAPD has spent the last decade remaking itself. Even past detractors admit that the LAPD has changed since the early 1990s, but people still associate the department with the events of 20 years ago. The acquittal of officers accused of beating Rodney King, the subsequent LA riots, the Rampart scandal, and the resignation of Chief Daryl Gates. Even recently, dozens of officers have $1 million plus verdicts in lawsuits claiming harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. African-American officers, including some supervisors Dutta has spoken with, say in private that they don't feel like they are part of the system and don't trust it. He's been a real-life superhero to many people, Columbia University professor Mark Lamont Hill told CNN. People aren't rooting for him to kill innocent people, they're rooting for someone who has been wronged to get kind of a revenge against the system. It is almost like watching Django Unchained in real life. Oh, LA. There you go again, blending fact with fiction like James Holmes in a movie theater. The trust in LA is burning at both ends. We know that. It's the same thing happening across the country. Officers asked Dutta, "Who are you going to burn today?" when he was operating as an officer within internal affairs. Officers are notoriously skeptical about internal affairs witch hunts attempting to satisfy bureaucratic or political overlords, aren't we all? Alternatively, the public is skeptical about the same agency, but for different reasons. Dutta writes, "If an officer is exonerated, the community often believes the malfeasance is being covered up. Police serve the community. Any concerns about their integrity must be transparently, expeditiously, and judiciously resolved." He says, relying on cops to police cops is neither sufficient, efficient, nor confidence-inspiring. The solution? Abolish internal affairs units and outsource their work to external civilian agencies. Isn't this pretty much what happens on the small city level? Integrating police into the local community instead of placing it above the law? It seems like a pretty good idea. Cops are less likely to feel victim to reprisal after breaking the blue wall of silence to a civilian. And the community has a transparent interface with those who police their streets. And then Dutta hits the nail right on the head. I'm so happy he's the LAPD. Why shouldn't every police contact with the community, every traffic stop, every interrogation be recorded on video? If Dorner and his partner had had a cop can, his claim that his partner used excessive force might have been resolved in the same day. There's just no excuse for not recording police contacts with the public. It's like a breath of fresh air, because from the TSA to jurisdictions around the country, the public has been harassed over our rights to film law enforcement, and some have even been threatened with life imprisonment. No civilian, let alone a publicly paid police officer, has that kind of expectation of privacy. Any and all interactions with the government should absolutely be recorded. Just ask the NSA.
Senator Senator Graham also says you're wrong, that the last thing we need, talking about drone strikes, that the last thing we need is a judge second-guessing the commander-in-chief.
Really? It was funny. I covered the fact that U.S. citizens could be targeted by drones after being deemed enemy combatants. I reported the term enemy combatants is becoming expansive and often posthumously in order to mitigate the number of civilian casualties forced to be recorded on government books. But many criticized me that this was only foreign attacks against U.S. civilians. In other words, U.S. strikes against U.S. civilians, but not on domestic soil. The problem is that the Pentagon is waging four-dimensional warfare on its expansive definition of a battlefield against its enemies, foreign and domestic. And President Barack Obama won't answer a vital question.
Well, I think we need to make the question a little more precise. What I'm asking is about drone strikes on Americans on American soil. The president will not answer that he cannot do this. In fact, he seems to be asserting that he can do this. The law indicates that he can't. The CIA is not supposed to assassinate people on American soil, and the Department of Defense isn't allowed to act on American soil because of the Posse Comitatus Act. So the American law says they can't do this, but the president, all he will say is he doesn't intend to do this. That's sort of like him saying, oh, I don't intend to override the Second Amendment, but I might. But here's Brennan's response. He says the authorization to use force in 2001 in Afghanistan has no geographical limit.
No geographical limit? Leon Panetta doesn't even need Congress to go to war.
Do you think that you can act without Congress and initiate a no-fly zone in Syria without congressional approval?
Whether or not we would want to get permission from the Congress, I think those are issues we would have to discuss as we decide what to do here.
Well, I'm almost breathless about that.
There is no due process under the NDAA and its indefinite detention provisions. The New York Times reported on Obama's secret kill list, but Democratic leaders like David Axelrod and Debbie Wasserman Schultz won't even acknowledge that this is in fact what it is.
And are you comfortable with him having a kill list?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Obama has a secret kill list, which he has used to assassinate different people all over the world.
I'm happy to answer any serious questions
Why
you
is
have.
that not?
Granted, of course they don't want to get kill list put on national television, but what else is it? I hope to get this person dead in the future list? I hope to not have this person alive any longer list? And just last week, and this is showing how quickly this is all speeding up, Christopher Dorner was the first American to be specifically targeted by a drone on U.S. soil. I've acknowledged Rand Paul burned a few bridges in the hearts of many libertarians and conservatives by endorsing Mitt Romney. But there are two things to consider. The payoff was immediate. Romney didn't win, but Rand Paul won loyalty points with his party. It's politics, not policy. The first affects politicians, the other affects us. And as far as policy, Rand Paul has sterling credentials. This man is the closest to being America's first libertarian president. Rand is not Ron, but he is absolutely a Paul. And make no mistake about it, he is running for president in 2016. And for the very first time in my very short life, I agree with Karl Rove. There should be more Rand Pauls in the United States Senate. Capturing every corner of the alternative media, watch AMTV News Monday through Friday. Follow me on Twitter at AMTV News and like us on Facebook at Greenwave TV. Please like, comment, and share. For more of our videos like these, visit amtvmedia.com, the home of the AMTV network, the voice of independence.